about pharma industry. We have our two learned speakers sharing their knowledge and experience with us, CA Rahul G. Kedia and Nitin T. Parekh. So, pharma industry, the sector of the economy that involves discovery, development of drugs and medications. The webinar is organized by CMIB, the Committee for Members in Industry and Business. CMIB's objective is to consider problems like career planning, ethics, etc., basically to enhance the participation of members in the affairs of institute, to provide benefit to both employers and employees from the perspective of members of the community. The committee is headed by CA Dheeraj Kumar Khandelwal, who is the chairman CMIB of ICAI. Moving ahead, we have our learned speaker, Rahul Kedia ji, who will be briefing us on the overview and role played by the finance team in the pharma world. Rahul Kedia ji is currently the head of finance and supply chain, who is also having 21 years of experience as a finance leader across industry verticals in healthcare and pharma, FMCG, OTC pharma, steel and audit firms. He has held leadership positions as head compliance, head HR, head sales, and twice as a CEO role. He has also worked with Tata Steel, Novartis, and currently working with Takeda Biopharmaceuticals India Private Limited. He has strategically directed with accountability in the profit and loss accounts. He has handled with the end-to-end responsibility for all financial processes, including profit and loss and balance sheets, and overall the company. By qualification, he is a chartered accountant, a company secretary, CMA, MBA, and MCOM. Over to you, Rahul Kedia ji. Let us hear his views on the topic. Rahul Kedia ji.
Yeah. Hi, Manisha. Thanks. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, thank you for the overview. And firstly, wishing every participant a very happy Navratri and advanced wishes for the Dasara, which is coming tomorrow. I will try and share my experiences and my perspective over the pharma world, primarily based out in India, and maybe in certain areas I can touch point my experiences outside India. So I've been given a task, or I've been given requested to speak about or talk about my experience related to roles played by the finance team in the pharma world. So, and this is very, very close to my heart. And I would say in last 21 years, close to 14 years I've spent in the pharma world, and currently also part of pharma world. And that's where I see a very clear difference between finance people within pharma and outside pharma. In my way, I would say I'm a person who's a chartered accountant and a finance background, but still very close to medicine. And why so? Because that's where we have to deal with the lives of the people, and that is what is expected from the finance team in pharma world. That apart from being a very good finance person, be it by qualification and the experience, but they should also have a fair bit of understanding. What I mean to say is fair bit of understanding about the medicines, the therapy, and also the patients. So the needs of the patients. So that's where when we do any kind of financial analysis or financial working or accounting work, primarily into planning and other stuff, we keep it into mind the patients in the mind and the therapy which is to be provided to them. And that's where the finance team is slightly more diligent. At times we have to take a call which are long lasting and go beyond just the profit outlook and other aspects. So what I mean to say for example, take example of oncology. In the oncology, many patients are not able to pay the price of the product depending upon the different therapy. At that time, people need to work with many NGOs and other aspects. So in these cases, the revenue recognition is not very straightforward at times. We need to understand how the funding will come to the company, how the company will be selling the goods to people or the business partner who will be in turn catering to the patient. But at the same time, the accounts and audit need to be also taken care by the finance guys. So that's where we are slightly cognizant of the fact that yes, while we have to serve the business, business comes first, and if we are viably doing in the economics of the business, we are also there to serve the patients. But that's something I would say we need to at time balance the need of the patient and also do that. So that's where the perspective is slightly more intense when we do the financial planning, and we need to keep changing our hat of only a finance guy to at time more with empathy and other aspect, and try to bring to a common place where we can move forward. So that is something I would say in the finance team is a unique challenge. It doesn't come naturally, and that's where we spend time. We have to go out to meet to the key doctors. In pharma world we call them HCP, healthcare professional, or at times also key opinion leaders, and to the key hospitals and other places. And that's where we have discussions, but also at the same time we feel the need, and that's what we come back to the office. We work on that, and how do we serve to the patients, and that's business is also there. So that I would say slightly a different approach which finance people need to take in the pharma world vis-a-vis in any other industry. So I worked into steel, I worked into FMCG. So consumer preferences and taste is definitely matter, but that is a secondary insight to finance people at time in the business planning. But in pharma that comes very in the beginning, I would say. Also, I would slightly touch upon in the pharma world, we being into finance, we are also been very much need to be aware of the macroeconomics and also the various regulatory framework which are being there in the world, be it FDA, which is primarily based for the US and the over there. But yes, there the companies who are associated with the European and the American business, we need to take care of the FDA and European medical rules, which is EMA. And in India, the drug controller of India, the Office of Drug Controller, the regulations out there of DPCO, the National Pricing Authorities, so NPPA. So these are very, very critical agencies where we have to be aware of the changes of the laws which are coming. At times, we hear that certain products are classified as drug. So what's in there for the finance team? That means when something is classified as a drug, there could be a price restrictions or price capping. There will be certain restrictions on the price increase, which is generally 10% within 12 year. So these aspect also a finance person need to take care into account when they are dealing with it. And also at times these regulations comes in which are not directly affected to the company, but somewhere in the value chain if it is also affected, we need to be aware of it. Something on the essential commodities, so those things which we have to take care. Also I would say in the pharma world or like any other company also or industry, we need to have the KPIs for the business, and generally the finance function is looked upon to present the KPIs or the dashboard for the organization as a whole. But when we work into the pharma world, we definitely look into certain new or unique KPIs, like how are we are fulfilling on the prescriptions for the patients. So or a patient's survey kind of thing we also do, and that is also comes on the overall KPI monitor for the company. And in the pharma world, we the companies are expected to spend a lot of funds for R&D to come out with the new molecules, new formulations, new innovative product. And that's where again the challenge upon the finance people is very critical. We have been looked upon how do we manage the P&L, I would say in simple terms, profit and loss for the company for the year, but also maintaining adequate funds available for investing into the research and development, so that the new molecules, new products are coming out. And that's where, while new molecules will definitely help the pharma companies to get a new business and serve the new patients also. But yeah, that is very very critical. And from my experience I can tell you that whatever we invest, not every time the every molecule is a success. At time they do not get the commercialize also in a way in which the companies are expecting. So at times for research and development we have to keep it into mind a couple of things, that it could be successful, it may not be successful. But yeah, investing is a must. Investing is a must for the pharma company, be it directly into the primary healthcare or medical device or OTC. Investment into the research and development is must. And then the key challenge lies into the taking those product into the market. And I think finance plays also a very crucial role in partnering with the business, both sales and marketing and the operations team, to work and navigate the way to bring those product in a most economical way to the market. When I say market, within India, entire India is a market. But when we say for a multinational, the select market or the countries across the world is also which we have to take into account. And yes, the pricing regulations, the comfort of the getting a patent of the new product, all those factors gets into picture. So here what I mean to reflect upon is that the macro parameter. So I work for a region also where India, Middle East and Africa was part of on my prerogative. So there we have to take a rational call that where we have to bring into the product, depending upon two things: primarily the need of the market, where you see the patient need is high, and also if you can get a product licenses and the approvals from the drug controllers faster. So in that way we try to get into it. Definitely we play a vital role as a finance members into the product pricing and making it commercially viable into the market. So those are few other aspects which we take into account when we talk about a finance function as a whole within the pharma world. So I can take a pause also if any questions is there, or I can continue. So here further from I can say that in the pharma world, I can say one of the experience that how the finance people are looked upon into the pharma world. So I see finance people, and from my team also, we work very closely with the commercial team. We work with the sales and the marketing team, the market access, the pricing team. So market access works with the government and the other advocacy part of the companies. We reach out where the unmet need is high, and we work with the government authorities, agencies in shaping up many policies with the insights which we generate from the clinical trials and all. In those aspects we often partner with the commercial team or our relevant team member to reach out to them to give more perspective. Why I do so often, my experience is primarily into multinationals, and that's where the predominantly part of the products are imported from outside manufacturing facility, which are established mostly in Europe and America. And that's where a critical role comes into, because every year we know the uh, dollar rate and the euro rate against the INR is going up. So that makes my import always expensive, and that on top of it then duties are there. So we try and put up the perspective of if we what value adds these therapies or these medicines can bring in. Say recently, last month if I refer upon, from GST there were a couple of exemptions being granted into the oncology and few other sectors. The rates of the GST were been lowered down, and in few cases it was been exempted. So why this again, this is a area where finance also works very closely with the uh, public affair of segment of the companies, where we go with the policy makers, we highlight the problems which we are facing. Say in India, the oncology is a very big problem, and maybe in my prior company I was with diabetes care. Diabetes is like India is known as a diabetes capital for India. but at the same time the awareness among people are very less. So that's where we try to reach out to the policy makers, give them the real insights which we collect from our research, from various studies which we conduct. So data are authentic, we share those data research reports and try to help them that how we can cater them and where their involvement can make a difference in the life of the people. So at times I find that joining them definitely enrich the experience of the finance people, that help them to also when we come back to office we work onto our table. We have much better perspective of the market, the business, how the regulatory framework are changing, but also we get the very good support of our all the team members beyond finance because they see the business partnering. So here, be it pharma or non-pharma, I think the concept of the finance business partner comes into play. They see you as your own partner, and that's where they are very comfortable working with you, going out and dealing with the topics.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul sir. Very beautifully highlighted the role of finance in the industry and how the challenges and complexities that are being faced by the finance teams. Also, you highlighted the regulatory side of it. Thank you for that. So, we have one question understanding the pharma industry and finance role. So, we want to ask that what are the key financial metrics and KPIs that are most relevant to the pharma industry? And how are they? You talked about certain KPIs, as you just mentioned, but we just would like to know in detail about the key financial metrics and how they use to measure the performance.
No, surely. So in the like any companies, some of the basic KPIs are the same, like the revenue, the profits, on the people front, the process. So these are 4 or 5 KPIs which are anyway uniform across the companies, and in pharma also and non-pharma also. In pharma, what we see further, which are very important, is that since we are investing heavily into the research and development and innovation. So one of the topic is that how our growth and the new launch are doing. So we try to segregate the sales in 2 part. One which is in general the overall sales. One, the new molecule or the new product which we had brought in, how that is performing against the overall our internal sales only. So whether the sales growth is quite good or not, and that is something we track very effectively. Also, one very important parameter which we try to track is that how is the in-market sales which is happening. In pharma, I would want to highlight that is very, very difficult from my experience. I found out because the distribution model is very unique. In FMCG, you get the in-market sale, which we call also secondary sales, is very, very easily. You can install certain patches or the tools in the your distributors or the business partners there, and you get it. But in the pharma world, that is very, very difficult. And why I say so, most of the products in general as an industry, the pharmacy is a point from where the products are being sold to the end patients in general, other than the hospitals where
Yeah.
it is used. So in the pharmacy, the pharmacy person which we see in our nearby home offices and all, they are not tagged to a specific distributor. In the pharma world, they
Hmm.
go out to multiple distributors and in anywhere in the city, and they can go and buy. So technically you can't map them under any particular
Hmm.
distributor, so you can't bring a logic out there. But that's where we are trying always, means every, means I would say in last 14 15 years we don't have a concrete answer
Hmm.
to that. But yes, we try to keep innovating on that side. How do we track the market, not from the idea of knowing the prices, but more importantly how the which part of geography is doing what, so that we can accordingly come with more and more better prices. So two things I would say, one, more onto the patient perspective which we want to do it, like how our patients are doing. uh, in that we also reach out to our HCPs, we try to see how the products are coming. And in certain segments of the pharma, the products are very on price points are slightly on a higher side, and you can exactly reach out to the patients. Because say oncology, I give you example of
Yeah,
oncology. So in that, whether we are having a new patients coming in, or we also have a repeat patients base. If repeat patient base is there and it is growing, it is good. That means your products are getting used and patients are getting benefited out of it. As means, that's a
true
simple way of
that.
looking. And if your
Absolutely.
current repeat sales are not coming from the existing patient pool, means either the patients are not able to afford, or patients are not going ahead with the therapy, or somewhere there is a
Hmm.
drop in the patient. And that could be a cause of concern for the business, and from also from the overall perspective, that why patients are not adhering to the therapies which are recommended by the doctors. So
Hmm.
those are the areas which are, but the challenge what over here is that there is no direct or tangible way how to measure it. So again, there are different ways: interview method, meeting people to understand it, looking upon the data. To the certain extent, data is available where you give high prices which seems to be high in certain products. You know that okay, they you work with NGOs, you give one product sales and one product is going FOC. So you actually not want to track it, that
Hmm.
so that products are going to the right people. So those are the areas. And other than that, linking to the last point, key areas which we want to track on the matrix is that any compliance concerns which are coming up or not. If not, here we want to have a score of 0. That is good. But yeah, that is something which we want to track, because anything misses will be very critical, because that deals with the life of the patient. And
Yeah.
a subset of it is the quality aspect. On the quality parameter which we commit, there should be no gaps out there. So one is area which is quality, and in all the pharma companies you will find a quality department out there. So we try to track these 4 KPIs above and beyond the other companies in general, from my experience.
Okay. Okay. Got that. Very well answered, sir. We talked about R&D, we talked about compliance, we talked about risk. So related to that, I have another question. Uh, as regards the gap, the IFRS, we talked about compliance. So, what is the role of finance in ensuring this compliance with these kind of standards or maybe financial regulations, which touched upon the topic? Would just like to know in detail the role of finance in this.
Yeah, I would say here, in terms of, if I say IFRS and all, I would say the most critical one is the IFRS 15, which is on the revenue
Revenue,
recognition. Yeah,
yeah,
because in pharma companies there are multiple ways of delivering the products to the patient. So take a means, I have not worked into that segment, but I knew from my friends and colleagues who work into those, knee replacement, take example, or the pacemakers,
very
means
common these days.
stents. So you can't really sell the exact thing to the upfront. So it is kept ready
Hmm.
handy like on a consignment basis. And when the doctor is already doing the treatment, at that time he may need 2 stents, might be 3 stents, depending upon the need at that point of time. And once the treatment or the operation is completed or the therapy is completed, then you actually know that okay, you had consumed, or you have given 3 or 4 or 5, and accordingly the revenue is to be recognized. So that is one example. Another is like you means we also deliver, say, a particular portfolio of a product through a business partner to cater into a particular market. Say, take any example of any of the pharma medicines or any generic medicines also. They can distribute in the rural market, and company may decide to distribute in the metro market or the tier 1 town self. How do you want to segregate the revenue? So if there
Hmm.
is a different brand name, life is simple. If the brand name is not unique for both the
Hmm.
thing, there will be a calibration between who is selling where, and depending upon uh, r- your commitment or agreement terms, the revenue becomes very difficult. Here, the complexity, I would say, on the face, it looks very simple, but the challenge comes in when in the pharma world, we you have the secondary sales schemes. When you give schemes to your distributors or the pharmacy that, okay, you do X quantity of volume, you get 5% rebate or discount, that become very very difficult to quantify at the first place, that whether everyone will be able to do it or not. But in finance, you need to ensure that your revenue recognition is appropriate. So what I mean to say is that these discounts are not given upfront on the invoice, and this is a common trend uh, in the FMCG also. But in FMCG, you exactly can nail it from where how much product is moving to which place. In pharma, you can't. So that's where at times it becomes difficult, and the claims comes back to the company after a couple of months, which could be 3 months to 6 months.
Hmm.
But from the revenue recognition, in the first month itself, you need to provide. So that's where the finance team understanding by going into the market to meet the business partner, understanding how is the consumptions happening, how are we delivering our product, makes a lot of difference in making appropriate assumptions, which is not way off the mark. Because if you are too conservative, then you are lowering your sales to beyond a level, and if you are not appropriate, then your sales are inflated. So that's something is a hidden risk, so that's something is to be taken care. Third one area where we often find challenge is that whether the sales deal dealt through a business partner becomes a sale to a business partner, or it becomes a commission. So
Hmm.
that's where the critical aspect for a finance person is to jump into when the agreements are or contracts are getting signed. If the terms of contracts are made very clear, then it means that, okay, you can book your sales when you are transferring your goods to your business partner. Otherwise, if at times I've seen when contracts are not very clear, goods are moved, it can be assumed like it's a consignment sale. So once the business partner is selling it onward, then the sales will come back, and maybe it also takes a shape of a commission. So it will not go into your top line as a revenue, it will come as a other services. So those are the areas which are very very unique, and at times within the same company it differs between different kind of product and the portfolio which we are managing, because your reach and distributions are very very different. So that's where IFRS 15 is something which keeps me cautious and awake most of the time when we are getting into a new distribution pattern or a new business model or a new product getting launched. We want to get into depth of it so that we understand that we are not missing out any critical point.
Right, sir. We talked about revenue in very detail. Now, coming on to technology and innovation side of pharma finance. So, what are your views as to how is technology such as artificial intelligence, such as machine learning, transforming the role of finance in the pharma industry?
There are two parts of it, Manisa. One is directly related to finance, where it is helpful in the business analytics for it. But at the same time, innovation and the AI is also being used into the product development by sensing to the patient's need and the recommendations or the need coming from the doctors also. So that is on to the innovative solutions which we get to provide to the patients. I'll speak on both the side. The first one, which is on the products, we understand that that is very critical, and I give you experience from my earlier company where I was in diabetes. So we used to monitor. Our product used to monitor the sugar level for the patients, but at the same time, with the innovative solutions, we felt like that, okay, can we come up with something on a continuous glucose monitoring? Now it is very very common, and we see a many ads and other stuff where people just have a small patch on their shoulder and they have a control of their blood sugar. But that, uh, taking a couple of years back, a 10-year back, it was not that known into the world. And that's where the innovation was coming up, that do you really want to check your sugar level every time, or if it is on your digital of your
Hmm.
smartphone? So that was something there. I know at that time also, between finance and the product and innovation team, there was a good discussion, and like that, how to deal with this kind of cost. We were not very sure whether it will be success or not. How do you want to, you have to do
Hmm.
a test study into the market, you have to give all these products as samples, complementary along with phones, and then you are testing. So that was a different challenge, but yes, that's where again it goes into a research and development fund. Again, we don't know whether the research will be successful or not, but we go by that. But having said that, in the pharma world, again, AI and machine learning are very, very important. I think that is important in all the industry. Machine learning is something very commonly is means I would say it's a first step to automate your processes and to shift your people from routine work to a more productive and the areas where you need to apply your human skills. So that is something. So in that we have tried to automate all the routine kind of exercise whichever is there, from any
Hmm.
expense to any kind of reporting, which used to take long weeks or couple of weeks out there. That is already been done in most of the companies to my knowledge. We have also done it, and our team have been shifted more to getting into business insight, work on with the our internal team, and at time go out into the market and deal with them. Further, I would say now looking into these data and the innovative solutions, and also I would leverage certain business service providers who provide key market insights. If we mix all of them, first thing, the business planning cycle, which was earlier used to be 2 to 3 months, can be reduced down to less than a month on number crunching, because a lot of trending analysis can be done real time handy. We use multiple tools out there, merge with them the past trends of the company, merge them with the how the category or the industry is growing. The tools itself will give you a reflection of what should be your size of the market or the category you want to grow in the subsequent year. On top of it, we now to apply our logics of on the pricing decisions, whether there is any change in the price, whether new product is coming in, any new launches, relaunches, any product getting decommissioned and all. So those are the additional insights which we have to put in, but a lot of effort which were like putting on excel files and all, that have been reduced dramatically to a very lower level. And I think that is also a need which I feel like when we are going and hiring the new talent. So whether people are understanding that part, because at times unfortunate, but at times we are working with such lean team that you don't have the capacity to get someone, train them and all beyond a limit. So that's where these are the tools which we try to leverage upon. And also analytics. L- Again, I give you one example, like your say diabetic presence in the coastal area is very high, so our product and the kind of SKU which sells into those market, so I'm talking about the strips which goes with the meter, and those, say like example 25 strips in a pack which cost around, say hypothetical number, 500 rupees for 25 strips, sells still much more, while the 50 strips, while it's just 700, but that is not getting sold there. So 25 strips at a cost of 500, but 50 strips at a cost of 700, people are not going for 50 strips, they are going for 25. So that logics, when you look upon various market together, you figure out that which market you need to focus on, which kind of product, and how the pricing schemes and other things can be done. I think this is very well done by the finance people. We look into from various facets, and just not from the what is the gross profit or the operating profit coming on top of it. We looks into and helps commercial team and the business team, as I would say, as a partner in the business development, using with all these tools. Humanly that is not possible, but yes, with AI, machine learning, and more insights from the our external service providers, we get a lot of insight put together. You get good things on the table for discussions, and then finance try to drive it along with the internal perspective of the companies.
Absolutely, sir. We got your point. So it's absolutely important. This data analytics and AI is helping us improve the decision making, not only in pharma, but yes, overall. And
Yeah.
it is also some way helping us manage the risk overall basis. And okay, so moving on to our next question, which is regarding somewhere with the career paths related and the skill development, which is in this industry. So, we would like to understand from your experience that what are the various or different career paths that are available with the finance function in a pharma kind of industry or a company?
Thanks, Manisa. I think finance person have a lot of opportunity to go beyond finance. I would say in pharma or world also, and I've seen a couple of head of finance or the CFOs moving up to the level of the CEO, and they have been doing good out there. Again, I would say that is culmination of a lot of effort which have been put behind by the people out there. And finance is a function where it gives good exposure of all the domains of the company, be it any area, be it sales, marketing, production, operations, marketing, your compliance, HR, you just name it, it's there. And finance, if we are doing a good partnering with them, we get a very good perspective out of it. I myself have taken my chances, and I've taken a stint into exploring the roles of sales, HR, compliance, and also the CEO role. So I got a flavor of it, and I think that is a must to have with any finance guy from across the level of the career, because that gives you a very different perspective to deal with it. Otherwise, we can always say that we are doing a good job, but how about others? But once you work into HR, or once you work into say sales, you get to know the pain points which they are facing. And as a finance, we have a better perspective, I would say, on the overall company, and we can troubleshoot that very nicely, and at times that unfold opportunities for the businesses also. So I would say, as a finance person, there's a very strong likelihood that people can grow into different area. The easy or the very commonly one which I've seen the finance people moving into from other than finance is a strategy.
Hmm.
In the strategy work, which is different from FP&A. FP&A is still a core of the finance, but once you get into a blend of the business perspectives, and then you drive the strategy where you don't know what will be the outcome, I think that's the area where finance guys I've seen moving. Business development is another area where
Hmm.
I see the finance people moving. Market access, slightly unique, but still a lot of means I've seen my colleagues moving into the market access area, where they work with the authorities. They work on the pricings agreements and the pricings topics for the company and the industry with the authorities. So these are the very commonly sought out areas where people jump into it. I explored into sales. My experience was very, very different, but I would say very enriching experience of heading the sales of the company along with the finance. So I was knowing that what kind of price I can offer to my customer there or not. And if not,
Hmm.
I can also explain it to my sales team members out there. So it was slightly easy for me being a finance guy. That what I can offer, I know, and what I can't offer, I can also convince my team member. But I think these experience really make a finance guy a very thorough person. Uh, Also, I've worked, I'm heading supply chain, so in supply chain and operations also a fair bit of finance guys are doing a good job out there, and it's very closely linked. And I would say when we do the financial planning or the business planning for the full year, a good perspective of all the areas are very, very important. So I just to summarize: strategy, market access, business development, and definitely the progression up to the CEO level is definitely there from the finance.
Agreed, sir. We talked about HR, we talked about sales. Other than finance, the finance people are getting everywhere.
Yes.
We talked about business development as well. Would you like to quote an example or any case wherein a finance person adds value to the BD side of it or sales side of it?
There are a lot many areas, Manisa, and if it should be okay, I'll give you one example where one of my team member played a very crucial role into the business development. It's from my earlier company where we were dealing with diabetes care, and we were into business of selling the blood glucose monitoring devices. So he got into an idea that challenge is what? Challenge is to serve the patient who are suffering from diabetes. And diabetes could be cured from many different therapies, be it allopathy, Ayurvedic, and many other. So that is clear. So he came to me and he told me, Rahul, I want to try going out to an Ayurvedic doctor and try to pitch him something. I said, what? He said, I have heard of certain doctors, they are doing a very good treatment and people are getting benefited. But I think that they are suffering from diabetes, like foot or eyes and issues, which are the issues of the diabetes. So he went and met the doctors, he understood the proposition, and then he came to me, and then we went together to the same doctors. His proposition was that you are giving a fantastic treatment and service to the patients and all, very good, but for that even the patient need to monitor their sugar level, then only they can get onto accurate therapy. So for that, if we come up with a co-package kind of thing where we also put in our meter, it's just not the business or profit, but we serve to your patient with this combined package where you get the real-time insights. Because challenge is that at times the patients are not reflecting the right sugar level, so and that will distort your therapy. So that's something, I'm just giving a brief of it, but that was very well appreciated by the doctors, and they said yes, let's do that. We tried to run a pilot. The pilot was very successful, and then it was being handed over to the sales team. Then they moved that and make that as a key account, and they were still serving that. But these kind of ideas come up also, and he was from my team, and he worked very well on that. So that is one of the real case study I could have said.
Okay, sir. That is where problem solving comes into picture, right,
Yeah.
Rahul sir?
Yes.
Okay. So we are thankful for all the answers. You have really given us your time and answered all our queries. Thank you, Rahul sir. Now, moving ahead, we have our another speaker, CA Nitin D. Parekh ji. He is a brilliant academic track record with ranks in BCom, LLB, CA, CFA, MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and MBA in Pharma Management from ICFAI University. Nitin T. Parekh ji is currently serving as CFO in Zydus Life Sciences Limited. Earlier, it was erstwhile known as Cadila Healthcare Limited in Ahmedabad. The annual turnover of the company is around 20,000 crores. He possesses 39 years of post qualification experience in finance, legal, and IT functions. We welcome you, sir. In 2023, you were also appointed as a member of Finance and Audit Committee of IIM Ahmedabad for a period of around 5 years. You are a member of CFO Council of CII, FICCI, SOCHM, etc. Over to you, sir. Sir is going to have give his views and share his experiences on pharma industry, specifically the opportunities and the challenges that are being faced in our pharma industry. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vanessa. Uh, First of all, I thank Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and members in industry committee for inviting me to talk on the opportunities and challenges of pharma industry. Rahul made a beautiful presentation in terms of number one is views and also answering your various questions, Vanessa, in terms of how finance professionals play a role in terms of the entire value chain of pharma industry and not restricted to pharma finance function, but including business development, working on the research part, working on clinical trials, to marketing, sales, collection, and various, the entire chain of activities which ultimately convert into business. So business finance role rather than a pure finance role, very well presented, Rahul. With that, let me take you through the presentation. I'll be sharing my screen. One second. Let me know are able to see the screen or not.
It is visible,
Hello.
sir. We can please go ahead.
Okay. So let me first talk about the global pharma industry. The global pharma industry sales from the last 4 years CAGR was 6.5%, from calendar year 19 to calendar year 23 numbers I am presenting here. And in terms of the value, it's about 1.63 trillion or 1635 billion US dollar, with a CAGR of 6.5% for last 4 years. Amongst the various countries that you see in the chart, where the pink represents US, which is with the largest segment. So US has remained the largest pharma, accounting for almost 40% of the total market size. And interestingly, US market has grown at a CAGR of 8% over the last 4 years. When you compare with 6.5% for the world in aggregate, 8% for US, you can also see that once not only it is the largest segment, but it is also the important growth driver for pharma market. And during calendar year 21 and 22, all of you are aware about COVID. So there was a meaningful contribution from COVID-related vaccines and various therapeutics. What do we expect in the next 5 years? So global pharma market is likely to grow at a CAGR about 6 to 7% and exceed a 2.2 trillion US dollar. And the largest market, which is US currently, with 40% market share, would actually have a 45% market share in calendar year 2028. And below the slide, I've indicated the source. I will not be talking for all, but so this is from the global use of medicines 2024 data. That was the total market size. How is the contribution from generic in this? So generic, is a very important segment of the market, and while in totality, still the innovators, value contribution still remains significant. Over a period of time, the contribution of generic as a percentage of total pie has been on increase. So when you look at calendar year 12, where the generic contribution was 28%, innovators share was 72%. That has in calendar year 2022, which after 10 years period, this 28% has become 36%. And when we look at projection for calendar 2027, generics are likely to contribute to 37 or 38% of the total pie. What it means is the increasing penetration of generics in the global market. And generics obviously has played larger role in terms of the growth, whereas we looked at the overall growth, the growth of generics has been of higher magnitude. And this is also contributed by certain developing countries, including India and China. So the growth of innovator segment has been driven by the factors like patent protection and price differentiation. But generics are going to play a major role because of the rising penetration. And obviously, they are very cheap compared to the innovator drugs. When you look at the total global market and segments which are contributing and likely to contribute significantly, oncology is one very important, and I think Rahul also mentioned about the oncology drugs. Zydus also is present, and happy to mention that amongst the Indian pharma companies, Zydus is the leading oncology company, and putting aside the multinationals, is the number one Indian oncology company. So oncology is a very, very important segment. And 5 year CAGR is expected to be 14% to 17%. Then followed by immunology, diabetics. Rahul also mentioned about India as the diabetic capital. Cardiovascular, CNS, respiratory, etc. When you look at the number of the percentages which are mentioned on the right side, you find interesting about obesity, 24 to 27%. While in terms of the value contribution, as of now, it's 74 billion US dollar. This is the fastest growing segment. And we all know that with the lifestyle changes, uh, standard of living increasing, uh, modernization, urbanization, food habits, etc. onwards, obesity is a very big issue which the world is facing. In India also, we have started facing that to a great extent. And therefore, this is the segment which is going to contribute significantly in terms of the growth. Biosimilars, biopharma, I think is making a lot of sense these days. And if you look at the globally top 10 drugs, many of them would actually be not new chemical entities or chemical based, but they are biologics or biosimilars, innovative products. And when you look at this contribution, the contribution in calendar year 13 was only 13%, which in 10 years period has increased to 31%. That is the biotech spending in the total. So overall, that has been 15% growth on a CAGR basis for last 10 years. When you look at next 5 years, while the CAGR is going to come down from 15% to 12%, it's important to understand that this is where the expected global growth of pharma is 6 to 7%. CAGR of biotech would be 12%. So this almost double the growth rate as compared to the normal world growth rate of pharma. And this is also getting reflected when you look at this 31% going to 39%, expected to reach 39% in calendar year 2028. So this is a very important segment. Also happy to mention that Zydus amongst Indian pharma companies is having the largest product line in terms of the biosimilar products. We are leading biosimilar company in the country. So looking at the global level, what are the opportunities and what are the challenges? Opportunities, well, this is a human need and this is a necessity. You can't, like roti kapda or makan, medicine is very important. You can't avoid it. You get delayed little bit here and there, but there's no way to escape it. And with changing lifestyle, the disease burden, disease incidence has been on increase, and especially in the segments of chronic diseases, the growth is high. There have been technological advancements of AL, ML, computational biology, precision diagnosis. These are the newer areas which would be quite handy in terms of the growth of pharmaceuticals. Genetic and molecular research paving way for the personalized medicines. It's a continuous manufacturing instead of the batch manufacturing. The continuous manufacturing process helps in terms of the larger runs, better utilization of capacity, lower cost, and various other things. And 3D printing, again, helps in terms of more personalized, customized medicines. Telehealth and digital health, mobile health, these things help in terms of making consultation available sitting anywhere in the world from the best of the doctors of the world. A lot is yet to be achieved, but the opportunities are fantastic. Look at the challenges. It's a highly regulated industry with the bar of quality constantly getting upwards, both in terms of drug safety and efficacy. As a Prescription Drug User Fee Act, which is likely to streamline the processes, but is going to have higher cost. In terms of pricing and reimbursement practices, also there is a need for transparent and value-based pricing. There are a lot of many regulatory hurdles as of now in terms of personalized medicines. Look at the US, which is the largest market. There has been a price erosion. We normally factor 5% to 7% price erosion on a year-on-year basis in our base business for US. And when the channel consolidation took place before many years, the price erosion was in double digit. Now again, it is contained in single digit of about 5%. Supply chain challenges, there's high dependence on China, on API in general, and also in terms of intermediates and key starting materials. There's increase in freight, over a period of time. There's a disruption of supply many times happening. These are the challenges, but I would call them all like a business challenges. Let me come to Indian pharma industry. So Indian pharma industry has seen good about 10% plus CAGR in the last 10 years. Uh, in terms of the overall value and percentage growth, if you say the Indian pharma market size is a good size in terms of Indian rupees to look at. The growth, well, year on year basis, you will find there have been changes. I think about 10% growth on 10-year basis is what is interesting. And that is why you would find that the companies which are focused more in terms of India or the larger proportion of Indian market in the total pie, they get better P multiple. Because India market is considered to be a market with growth and market with sustainability because of the branded formulation business. Only during COVID there was some impact, but otherwise we expect that this would continue. And the key growth drivers of Indian pharma market are the increased government spending on healthcare, accommodative government policy, penetration of healthcare insurance, rise in disposable income, increase in the lifestyle-related disorders. And the larger companies and well-established brands perform better than or in line with the industry due to prescribers' preference or the quality, availability, and effectiveness. When you look at how this growth is composed of in terms of volume, price increase, and the new products, again, you find that, year on year, there would be changes. What you find is in terms of the pink part, which is the volume, of late, last 2 years, if you look at 2022 and 2023, volume has been a matter of concern in terms of the growth, and price is the lever which is generally utilized. And as you also find out that how this is happening, I think there are 2, 3 important reasons why the volume growth numbers look lower. One is government's program like Jan Aushadhi, where the reflection in terms of the secondary sales data is not enough. Second is the growth of pure generics, what we call generics. The generics data also don't get reported. So I personally believe that in terms of the overall volume, there would still the growth, but when it comes to branded formulation business, the volume growth numbers are relatively low. And prices have steadily gone up, as Rahul also mentioned, in terms of the scheduled drugs or the drugs which are under price control. The growth can take place to the extent of wholesale price index, which government declares every year. And in non-scheduled drugs, maximum up to 10% price increase can be taken in a year. It's also interesting, classification in terms of the acute and chronic. While you find that from calendar year 14 to calendar 23, the share of chronic has been on rise from 30% to 38%, because they represent the most modern lifestyle-related diseases. So acute therapies have grown at a CAGR of 9%, and chronic they've grown at a CAGR of about 13% over the last decade. Acute therapies like anti-infectives, and vitamins, mineral, etc., has grown at a slower rate in the last decade. And cardiac, anti-diabetics, neuro-respiratory, GI, derma, gynec, they have gone in double digit over the last decade. Here you find the major Indian pharma companies and the secondary sales is reported in moving annual totals that we call MAT. These are data as per AVAX of August 2024. So Sun is the leading company with 8.1% market share, followed by Abbott, Cipla, Mankind, Alkem, Intas, Torrent, Lupin, Zydus, Macleod, DRL, etc. So Indian pharma company, if you look at, it's quite a fragmented market actually, with more than 1,000 players in the branded generic space only. But despite the presence of large number of players, the market is concentrated. Top 15 players account for more than 55% of the market, while top 20 players account for two-thirds of the market. And most of the large players, they are present across various therapies. While some may be better in certain therapies than others, most of the large players are present in most of the therapies. And how the therapy-wise, market is. So when you look at the total market size, there's about 2 lakh crores. You find that the cardiac is 13.3%, followed by gastrointestinal, anti-infectives, diabetics, vitamin, mineral, nutrients, etc. That's the way 100% is made of. There is a drug price control order, and Rahul did mention about that. So, Government of India has what we call DPCO, drug price control order, which regulates the prices of essential medicines. And the primary objective is to prevent unreasonable pricing practices by pharma companies, because the essential medicines should be made available to people at large at affordable prices. That is the philosophy. And government has empowered NPPA, which is the pricing authority, to control and regulate these prices. NPPA comes out with this formula for the pricing. For example, the current formula, for selling price is the one for average of all the players who have market share of more than 1%. Their prices have to be taken. The average of that price, it's a simple average. That price is the selling price. And DPCO ensures that essential medicines remain affordable and prevents exploitation of patients and safeguards the interest of the vulnerable population. DPCO also ensures that people from all economic backgrounds can afford the medicines. In overall terms, DPCO is a very significant step towards universal healthcare. These are some of the regulatory requirements, like good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices called GLP, good clinical practices for the clinical trials, and uniform code for pharmaceutical marketing, which is for the marketing practices. What it means that, and as Ali mentioned, pharma is a very regulated industry. So there are regulations, from what you start clinical trial of the product till the time you market the product, including after you market the product, there is a post-marketing surveillance also required. The government has taken a significant step in terms of developing a domestic pharma company, and production incentive scheme is one of them, very important milestone. The government have three different schemes, and I don't want to bore you with specific details, but important to understand that India Pharma, it is the third largest in terms of the volume and country, but the contribution in terms of value is 3.5%. The very important logic of this is that in India, we don't have so much of new chemical entities or basic research the way it happens in various American, continent, as well as in European segment. We don't have so many research-based products or innovator products. Zydus is amongst very few Indian pharma players with their own innovative products. So we have a product called Lipaglyn, which is marketed in India, which is the commercialized product coming out of our own research pipeline. So to ensure a greater reliance, government obviously talks about drug safety and everything, but to make affordable medicine available, government has been encouraging domestic production. And in the first place, for the bulk drugs, as it happened, at the time of COVID, government realized, and many governments of various countries actually realized, that for critical life-saving drugs, they would like to have their own production rather than being dependent on others. And as I mentioned, India is dependent on China for various APIs and drug intermediates. So this PLI-1 for domestic manufacturing of critical KSM drugs, intermediates, and APIs, that is the scheme. And there is a PLI-2 scheme also, which is for formulations, and is a bulk drug park scheme also, to provide common infrastructure facilities. As you will be aware, API has its own share of pollution related effluents and needs to have a good sound system in terms of primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment for pollutants. And these are the outlays on various schemes like PLI one scheme at 6,940 crores outlays. There are 51 applicants. And this is what the sales made by the projects already commissioned. Some of the larger APIs, including penicillin, are now going to be manufactured in India thanks to PLI scheme. When it comes to PLI 2 scheme, which is for formulations, as you will find in the incentives, about 15,000 crore outlay. There is a classification in so group A, B, C based on the turnover. So for the group A, for example, there are 11 parties in India finalized, including Zydus being one of them, who are all going to get over a 6-year period if they complete all their conditions in terms of specific value addition, incremental growth, R&D, etc. They are going to get each 1,000 crore rupees over a period of time in 6 years period. And so this is that way a significant amount in terms of the help which government is trying to give to the companies to have increased domestic production of eligible products. Obviously, there is a gain in terms of value addition, there is a gain in terms of the employment also. And compared to the 6-year period where 1 lakh total jobs were expected, already in a less than half the time, more than 50% of that target is achieved. What it means is that the pharma companies, AstraZeneca, Gilead, BMS.
Sorry to interrupt, Nitinji.
Yes.
We would just like to inform there is some technical.
Hello.
Yes, now it's audible.
Okay.
Yes, perfect, sir. Please continue.
So, one, I want to say that pharma industry has a growth, both organic as well as inorganic, and most of the pharma companies you would see for a variety of reasons, they would have gone for some kind of M&A deals. So M&A deals, both globally as well as in India, quite common. Here are the deals which have happened in India in the last 5 years. For example, and acquisitions have been both in terms of the brands, businesses, as well as assets and companies. The last one you see is the most recent one and one of the larger ones. In June 2024, Mankind acquired Bharat Serum and Vaccines business for about 13,630 crores, which is in the women health and fertility segment. And this deal has happened at about 8 times the revenue and about 28 times the EBITDA. Very, very high multiples. But given the prospects of the growth that Mankind Pharma is envisaging, they consider price to be quite reasonable. So normally you will find that about 15 to 20 EBITDA multiples is working for Indian pharma companies. When you compare that with global generic pharma companies, which may have maybe 6 to 10, and that difference is because of the prospects of growth. And that is why when I earlier mentioned that companies having larger focus on Indian pharma business gets better value in terms of their market cap. What is SWOT analysis of Indian pharma companies? So Indian pharma companies in our strengths, as I mentioned, is the largest generic supplier across the globe, third largest in terms of the overall production volume. Majority of global vaccine production caters to 40% of generic demand in the US. and the highest number of US FDA inspected plants outside the US are in India. Talk of weakness, high dependence on China for some of the APIs and key starting materials. Inadequate review mechanism in place to ensure that the products produced across facilities are of standard quality and meet all the regulatory requirements. And limited investments on R&D, which restricts the scope to meet the evolving healthcare needs, especially when it comes to basic research. Opportunities, we can reduce the dependence on China for APIs and KSM participating in PLI scheme, expand presence in specialty segments of developed markets, mainly in the US, and like Sun Pharma and some other companies, Zydus is also making investments in terms of specialty business for US. Strengthen the presence in the US generic space, considering the most large global generic players are moving up the value chain and enter the branded space. Interestingly, if you look at the top 10 US generic companies, you would find most of the names from India. And Zydus is also amongst the top 5 generic US companies. That is the penetration of US happening, and that is the cost competitiveness which India has shown. Threats, continued pricing pressure in the US generic space, adverse regulatory actions by different regulators on different manufacturing facilities, and threat of generics and turn also the stores to branded generic business in India. I will talk about opportunities for chartered accountants in pharma industry. To become a pharma banker with the investment banks considering significant M&A activities in the space, as I just now mentioned, there have been several M&A deals and pharma works on M&A, and therefore you can always find that there would be scope for showing your skills and abilities in terms of M&A. To participate in the due diligence activities related to M&A, we in Zydus, we are never having a situation where we are not working on some deal or other. What it means that this is a very integral part of pharma to work on M&A, and we keep working with all the big four firms and other firms in terms of financial due diligence, tax due diligence, commercial due diligence, legal due diligence work. To look after taxation aspects, mainly in the areas of tax structuring post the completion of M&A deal and international taxation, considering significant increase in cross-border transactions and transfer pricing. You'll also work in the areas of deal structuring, deal valuation, and deal financing for M&A deals. So when I say deal structuring, whether it should be asset purchase, it should be brand purchase, should it be business purchase, should it be company share purchase, and should you keep it separate, should you merge it, so should you go for demerger? And there are many angles to that from accounting, financing, taxation, etc. Deal valuation in terms of how do you work out the DCF value, or how do you work out the trading multiples and various other related things, and deal financing in terms of internal accruals, in terms of debt, in terms of equity. And as some of you would be aware that when you want to go for any purchase of shares in India as a part of M&A, share purchase will not be financed by banks in terms of loans, because that's not allowed by RBI. So typically you would find people going for NCD and other routes. If some of you recently read about Mankind Pharma's plan of raising 10,000 crores, you would have read that they are talking about new NCDs and commercial papers and things like that. So chartered accountants have a lot of scope in terms of these kind of exercises. Also to be an equity analyst, both sell side and buy side, covering pharma and other adjacent sectors, like care, diagnostics, etc. You would find there will be many players having equity reports. Zydus has about 50 people writing about Zydus. So names like JP Morgan, Jefferies, Bank of America, Moelis, Kotak, Avendus, JM. This is not exhaustive list. It's just indicative names. And the last one, obviously, to act as a finance controller in any pharma company, looking after different areas of finance, accounts, treasury, tax, M&A, etc. Pharma is ultimately, trying to serve needs of citizens at large. And we in Zydus, you find our slogan here, Zydus dedicated to life, because we believe that we are here to share somebody's pain and give them smile on their faces. And to quote very beautiful lines, I would say, किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है. Thank you.
Very well ended, Nitin sir. Jeena isi ka naam hai. Thank you. Thank you for this conversation. The topics touched upon opportunities, challenges of the pharma industry. We talked about the sector as a whole with the pictorial presentation ahead on our screens and very well highlighted all the opportunities and the challenges. So, moving ahead, let us go ahead with the questions that our audience might have. Moving on to the first question, sir. Our first question is regarding the markets, specifically the emerging markets. What, according to you, or to put it otherwise, how are the emerging markets like Asia and Africa are shaping the future of pharma industry, according to you, sir?
Yeah, the emerging markets of Asia and Africa, I think, are very good growth contributor. If I talk of, let's say, Zydus, and this is true for many, I'm using Zydus as a representative of many large pharma companies. So most of us are present in India and US, the large players. And the third important pillar of growth for most companies is emerging markets. And most of the emerging market countries, let's say countries like Philippines, countries like Myanmar, Sri Lanka, or South Africa and other African countries, including some Latin American countries like Brazil, Mexico, etc. They are largely branded formulation markets, unlike US or European countries, which are largely generic or innovator markets. When I say branded formulation, means they're actually generics, but having brands. The way in India is, you will find a particular molecule medicine which is off patent, from Lupin, Sun, Cipla, Torrent, Zydus. Everyone has a brand, though composition is same. It's a generic product, but because the company has given a brand, it's a branded generic. That's the way I'm selling. Now, other emerging market countries, they are like India, developing countries, and therefore all of them mostly have branded formulation markets. The branded formulation market uh, characteristic is that you need a prescriber's advice or prescription to get that particular brand sold by a chemist or pharmacy, and therefore need to have medical representatives meeting doctors, talking about the medicines, etc. So it's an interesting market. If I talk of Zydus, in last 5 years, we have experienced double-digit growth in emerging markets and expect to continue having a double-digit growth in times to come. The important drivers are same like India. For example, in terms of the aging population, in terms of increasing life expectancy, better standard of living, increasing income levels, increasing urbanization, increasing insurance cover, etc. And also government focus and thrust on the healthcare. Various facilities like facilities which are now made available in India, including Ma card and others. I think there are great steps or initiatives from Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in terms of making medicines and healthcare uh, solutions available to public at large. And in terms of the products, again, the chronic diseases-led chronic segments are doing well in this. One important thing which generics company understand, obviously, is that these countries also like to have affordable prices. So they would like to have more of the generic products than the innovator products. And you can expect good volume growth also from these countries, apart from only the value growth. So yes, the very interesting segment.
Right, sir. Moving ahead. So we talked about a few terms which are particularly used in the pharma world. Our audience has some specific questions relating to that. Even Rahul ji also spoke about those terms. So I'm asking you, or Rahul sir, anybody who would like to answer that. The question from the audience is, what is the meaning of oncology, the PLI scheme in the pharma industry, and so first of all, these two questions, then we can go ahead with the next question, please.
Oncology,
Would you like to
Manisha,
take up,
means,
Nitin sir?
yeah, oncology means cancer. Okay. In fact, my at a personal level, the experience is that in the friends and relatives and family members that I have been talking to or have experience with in terms of their reason for death. So invariably, I find that almost every fourth or every third sometimes person who dies because of some kind of cancer. So this is certainly a matter of great concern, and that is why there have been lot many companies working on solution to cancer. Zydus also is working with number of products, including the biosimilar products that we have launched. Um, what we have launched in last 2-3 years, all these products are doing well because of the oncology being a matter of great concern. And PLI, as I said, is a production-linked incentive scheme, which works on the specific investment criteria, which is growth criteria, employment criteria, etc. So there are three different schemes which are presented. PLI 1 is for critical starting materials, or called KSMs, drug intermediates and APIs. The scheme 2 was PLI 2, which is for formulations. Formulations means the finished product, the medicines. And the third scheme is the bulk drugs park scheme, where like a government development organization, for example, in Gujarat we have GIDC, Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation, and most states have that, where the corporation puts up the infrastructure facilities. And as I said, in API, the pollution control infrastructure is also required. So all the infrastructure facilities, including power, effluent treatment plants, etc., are put up by the person, the sponsor of the park, and all the units, can come there, use the common facilities, and therefore share the cost. Okay? So that's the purpose. And government is helping them in terms of the incentives, so that these things can be set up.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Rahul, you want to
Oh,
add anything to that?
Hanji, sure.
No, sir, you
Now,
covered it quite well. So PLIX, you explained completely, and oncology is cancer. So clear, very clear.
Right.
thank you, Rahul sir. Thank you, Nitin sir. Moving ahead to our next question from you, Nitin sir. What is the opportunity for personalized medicines?
It's a wonderful opportunity. Personalized medicine, actually, as the name suggests, means the medicine which is personalized for a particular patient. Uh, in the purest form, it means that there is a different medicine for Manisha and different medicine for Rahul. Okay, if the same disease is there. What it means is working at a person's genetic level in terms of number one, what really is the issue, and therefore what is the right medicine for that. So let's say two different patients having same disease, the cause need not be the same. The extent of problem may not be the same. The spread may not be the same. And the gravity may not be the same. And therefore, when I say that this is the drug for a particular disease, and if I give to A, B, C, D, all of them have actually not the same level of problem, but the medicine is same. I mean, the dose is apart. I know somebody say you take 5 mg or 10 mg, but that they are the crude solutions. They're not the finest solutions which now are possible with the help of artificial intelligence, machine learning, genetic programming, and 3D printing, and so many things are now available, which can allow that kind of medicine to be there. In fact, large global players, have been working on this, including Ross and many other companies. In fact, the market size, in the calendar 2023 was already in excess of $500 billion. So it's a huge market. India market is still relatively very small, maybe less than $1 billion as of now. Again, the question will be of affordability in India. The question is that if a particular drug can be made available, let's say for 5 lakh rupees, when it is for various people in general, the same drug, if it is to be prepared for a one particular patient, that 5 lakh may become 25 lakhs, right? And therefore, the question of affordability comes. But I think over a period of time, these things will, keep coming down in terms of the cost, and therefore the future certainly is for personalized medicines and for rare diseases also. So rare diseases population is going to be very small, and therefore, for rare diseases, disease of A, disease of B is not comparable. In fact, in US currently we are working on certain rare or orphan diseases where the number of patients in for that disease in, let's say, US market, again, it will not be more than 10 or 20 patients. 10 or 20 patients, I am saying, over overall population. Now, think about any company interested in doing work for them. Right? It's not possible. But thankfully, there the government gives them orphan drug indication and therefore gives a financial support. Is a complete 100% reimbursement from government possible in market like US and certain European countries. And therefore, those drugs are affordable. So personalized drugs, I think, is a matter of future, and there is a lot of work already going on with technology advancements, genetic and molecular research, as well as now telehealth and digital solutions, regulatory and government support. I think the opportunity is significant.
Understood, sir. Moving on to our next live question. To modify it, sir, we touched upon the opportunities for CAs in pharma industry. So this could be from the perspective of a CA who is looking for employment or CA who is in a practicing environment. So we touched upon as a pharma banker, any opportunity like due diligence, taxation aspects, deal structuring, deal valuation, modeling, or financing, equity research point of view, or finance controller, like kind of opportunities. The question from the audience is that what could be the other areas or maybe the detail of these areas which can be explored specifically from a practicing CA point of view in the world of pharma? From you, Nitin, sir, please.
So except the last one I mentioned, which is in terms of becoming a financial controller, which is a full-time job, all other and equity analyst, which again will be a employment related thing at a research analyst level. All other, practices are such which chartered accountants in practice can do. For example, investment banking work, right? Where there are large firms already there, JMI, Kotak, Avendus, and Jeffries and JP Morgan. There are individual chartered accountants doing that work who want to specialize in M&A, who would find the target, talk to prospective people who would be interested in buying that target, become a bridge. But then they will have to also understand a little bit about industry, a little bit about the products, about the regulatory requirements, about the valuation matrix, etc. So it's not a simple broker job. It's a more involved job with that. And the beauty of that is that while it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of work, the rewards can be fantastic because typically, depending on the deal size, but the value for that can be 1%. If it's a very large, maybe 0.5% or even 1.5%, 2%. So think about, deal like somebody has done a deal of, let's say 5,000 crores, right? And they get even 0.5% of that, right? Is a fee. So
Big
25 crore
amount.
rupees fees. So every work, every effort, would be worth that kind of income, right? So that is what practicing chartered accounts can do. They can also do all the due diligence work. They can help in terms of deal structuring. They can help in terms of deal financing. There are people who do project finance work. They do bank finance work. People who advise them. So taxation, accounting, valuation, financing, all these activities can be done.
Understood, sir. So this was from the point of view of investment banking, finance, and other aspects like taxation, etc. Could you please also highlight the valuation side of it, specifically, which is not kind of dependent on the deal size, advisory, or maybe certification kind of a thing?
So valuation, Manisha, is both science and art. When I say science and art, there are different models of valuation we would have learned. This, you say DCF value. Let me tell you from practical experience, hardly any deals happen at DCF value. Deals don't happen at DCF value. They invariably happen at a value which is higher than DCF value. So valuation, while it is a science in terms of the mathematics part, a lot many assumptions go there. Why, for example, two different prospective purchasers come out with different value for the same target, right? Because the growth assumptions which both do are entirely different. So somebody who's aggressive in terms of the growth and positioning, say, I'll grow this business by, let's say, 12% or 15%, they would put a different value compared to somebody who says this business cannot grow more than 8%. Correct? So even if both are using same kind of discount rate, because their growth assumptions are different, they would find a different value. Again, two different prospective buyers, depending on their size and their ability to get the funding at a different rates, their WACC would be different. What's called weighted average cost of capital would be different. Their philosophy of debt equity would be different. In fact, very few finance people also understand that WACC is not to be calculated for transaction. WACC is to be calculated based on the philosophy. What it means is that, let's say for a particular transaction of 1,000 crore rupees, if the company believes that you can do this transaction only by borrowing, because company does not have any debt as of now, entire 1,000 crore can be borrowed, and let us say it can be borrowed at 8% in rupee terms, and then you apply after tax rate and find out the value, because the WACC would be quite low after tax and the value can go up. Now you can't do this because this is the transaction level valuation you are doing. WACC has to be based on the corporate philosophy of debt equity. So if my philosophy is, for example, 1:1, right? That then it means that I have to assume 1:1 to work out my WACC. Even if I am going to take 100% debt, I cannot take that rate. But if I want to find out what is going to be my future in terms of projections, impact on EPS, my profit after tax, etc., that time you can consider what exactly is going to be the funding source. What it means, that for financial projection, you can consider the exact transaction parameters, but to arrive at the value, the WACC cannot be based on the transaction parameters. WACC has to be based on the philosophy. So, but the WACC itself, for example, Zydus is a AAA rated company, and therefore the rate at which I can borrow, some other company cannot borrow. And therefore, the rate would be dependent. So my WACC calculation is based on my cost of equity and my cost of debt, which is not same for some other company, right? And therefore, from that onward, these are the major assumptions. But interestingly, your understanding of this kind of financial parameters, even if you learned it, by education or otherwise, can become handy in specific situations. For example, I did my CFA somewhere in 1990, but the first time I used my capital asset pricing model principle was after 8 years, right? When there was a deal which I was negotiating. My advice to all the chartered accountants and young professionals would be keep learning without thinking when this will be utilized. Believe only that someday it will be utilized.
Absolutely, sir. Coming from a valuation background, I completely understand and agree with your points. The formulation of WAC, cost of financing, and everything, taking a market participant's view while dealing with it. Yes, sir. So, moving on to our next question, which is from an employee point of view, basically a CA fresher point of view. The person wants to ask if they want to join an industry, so how they can join the pharma industry? What kind of perspective a pharma world would have for a CA fresher?
Nothing specific, nothing different than what other company would have. So at a young age, when the pressure, only three things which are required for any employee. What I call KSA. KSA means K stands for knowledge, S stands for skills, and A stands for attitude. So what kind of knowledge? So obviously if you passed your final CA, you would understand that your knowledge in certain subjects is expected to be expert. Now I would advise people to look at the syllabus of CA entrance, CA inter, whatever P1, P2, whatever is there, and final. You would find that for any subject, there would be expected level of knowledge, and somewhere it will be basic, somewhere it will be expert, right? So you are supposed to be expert in accounting, in auditing, on taxation, etc. Right? So just by writing in your resume they are expert, it will not be there. You will have to prove in your interview that you are expert, right? Uh, Let me give one very interesting Manisha example. In my experience of interviewing not less than 1,000 professionals, CAs, CS, company secretaries, cost accountants, onwards, and especially chartered accountants. When I asked them one particular question, I said, "Give me conceptual difference between current liability and provision." Conceptual difference. So people still, more than 50% of chartered accountants say that taxation is a provision for taxation is a provision, sundry creditors is current liability. I said, no, I don't want any illustration. You only tell me what is the conceptual difference. And then some people were say, I said, okay, give me also conceptual difference between current liability, contingent liability, and provision. Only at concept level. I must say that 80% of chartered accountants are not able to answer me this question. And what is expected is a clear understanding in terms of fundamental knowledge. So, for example, in current liability, the event is certain, amount is certain. When it comes to provision, event is certain, amount is not certain. And in contingent liability, event itself is not certain. Right?
That is
I would
right.
say
Quite
not even
understand.
5% chartered accountants are able to speak this language, which I learned before 40 years. So that is my taste of knowledge. You have expert knowledge, prove it. Okay, that's the first part. The second is the skills part. The skills of in terms of problem solving, in terms of understanding, in terms of communication, in terms of leadership, in terms of interpersonal dynamics. You need the skills to work with people as individual contributor, as a team member, as a manager, and ultimately manager of managers. A leader of leader. Right? This is the progression. Are you having the skills which match your level in the organization. And third, the attitude. What is your attitude for work? Are you here for a serious job or you find it a pastime activity? Are you there in the company saying that today I'm this company, after a year I'll be in some other company, it really doesn't matter, I'm a qualified chartered accountant, I will find job anywhere. That attitude will not help. Join the organization thinking that you want to retire from that organization. I know that it's not possible and people don't do it, but I'm saying that is the level of dedication expected of you. My simple test and advice to all the chartered accountants is that tell yourself, am I able to contribute to this company's profits 10 times the salary I'm drawing? If you are drawing salary of 10 lakh rupees in a year, are you contributing at least 1 crore rupee to the company's profit or not? If your answer is no, you are not useful to the company.
Definitely, sir.
Rahul, you
And
can add, you are younger to me. This may be considered as a traditional way of looking at chartered accountants,
No,
but
sir. Sir, what you said is a fact. When I interview the candidates, means I think people, young generation which is coming, I would say I'm still older generation now. When they come with a very big expectations. But I say that yes, expectations can be only fulfilled by yourself when you put the hard work right now. So I think most of the people come with a notion that okay, now we are a CSO, our major task of hard work is done. Now we have here to live life and all. But my point is that if you want to succeed in your career, you need to have patience. You need to compromise on couple of things so that you put your hard work, make your strong foundations and beginning. And why I say so, when I interview people, say for an accounts role, they come and say that can I take a role into financial planning. I say that okay, you are here for applying for accounting role, let's interview for the accounting role. Don't jump your guns right now. Financial planning seems like very exciting and like futuristic, but I think that's where people means what you say basic accounting. If I ask something on the balance sheet and P&L, often I didn't get a very clear answer. That something similar, if I ask us that in this situation where it will have an impact, P&L or balance sheet, the answer is generally a general answer which goes into circles and not a very specific answer, which we will assume a chartered accountant to be a specialist and expert to comment that it will hit my P&L or it will go into my balance sheet in the first go. So you covered it quite well, sir. And I completely agree with you on all the things.
in fact, Manisha, I would like to also mention that many chartered accountants have a prejudice for accounting. And this is not good, because when I interview some chartered accountants, say, tell me what kind of job you would like to do. They say, sir, I would like to do make or buy decision. I would like to work on IPO, capital structuring, M&A, forex management, forward cover, etc., etc. I said, these kind of things people don't do every day. Make or buy decision. It's not everyday decision. IPO is a once in a lifetime decision. It's not that every company every time work is working on IPO. So then I asked some of those chartered accountants, what about working in accounting department? So immediately I see, the color on their face. No, sir, accounting is very boring. It's a very routine thing. Let me tell all the chartered accountants who are listening that accounting is the basis. It's like a brick on which the building can be constructed. If your bricks are not strong enough, your understanding of finance will not be strong. Understanding of accounting, please don't discard and don't consider the routine task. This is the most important player. People who can't understand financial statements, people who can't understand items of P&L and balance sheet cannot become good finance managers also.
absolutely, sir. We understand that everything is interlinked. And if our roots are strong, then our shoots are definitely going to be strong.
Very well said.
Thank you, Rahul, sir, also for your views on this. We agree to your points, and it's certainly going to be helpful for our future chartered accountants as well as our freshers. in the industry. Moving on to our next question. Next question is regarding, it is a little different and certainly very common topic, which is ESG, economic, social, and governance issues. So the next question is from you, Rahul sir, first, and then would also like to listen to your views, Nitin sir. Uh, Putting the question, what are the ESG issues currently faced by the pharma companies specifically?
Uh, Thanks for this question. I think this topic is now coming up very clearly in most of the companies, and in many discussions, ESG is there. We are fully aware of it, but there are sustainable goals which are there. But to my experience and what I have worked upon it, it is not possible for us to, or any of the organization, to work on all the ESG goals. So still, if we look upon some of the goals, definitely are picked up in the mission statement or vision statements of the company. But the task or the work which I generally try and work on ESG is that can we bring the ESG into day-to-day life, and can we just not link it to the ESG uh, to our mission and goal statements only, but can we make the people more aware into day-to-day working of that? So that's something I- like affordable uh, medicines or for the people. So like poverty is one of the goal, but I can't any company cannot really work on the eradicating of the poverty, or we can't work on that. Definitely we support government and other facet in that, but idea is that can we bring affordable treatment or affordable product at affordable pricing. And that's where I think as a finance guys, we are slightly need to play a very different role and a strategic role. Say when we pitch in into tenders, the expectations of the companies of a core operating profit or the operating profit will be at a certain threshold. Say for example, say safely assume 40%. So people or companies would want to generate a 40% profit. But if you want to participate into tenders, tenders will not give you that kind of profitability. In tenders, L1 category will be the most driving factor. But at the same time, why do we participate into tenders? Is that profit? Answer is no. Is that reach? Yes, but at the same time, are we trying to reach out to more and more patient and support government? Yes. So that is the certain facet which we have to keep it in mind. And I've just picked up this because when we evaluate tender, uh, I also speak to my team that just not look upon the profitability. Let's look upon the ESG, which our companies, all the companies. Nitin sir is in Zydus, so Zydus will have the ESG framework like all the multinational do have. But the relevant part of multinational in India means if we have to adapt to it, that's where we try to work on those facets. And also whatever we do, it need to be in a very compliant manner. Uh, don't want to get into on the either side of the business, don't want to get into that kind of discussions at all also, but doing into that way so that we can bring a proper medicine at a right price to the mass, maybe through the government, is something a channel which I think is more appropriate for us, because we as an organization may not have a bandwidth to conduct the uh, s- uh, separate camps and other where we can distribute the medicines, but we can participate with the government, and we do that where we take a slight impact on the profits by providing our medicines to the government. But that is something one way where we try to contribute toward the ESG, and that that is what I would say in India. At least we are trying to work upon it because the need is huge, and market is huge. There's a lot of unmet need, and through the government we are trying to work on those areas, and also try to bring more and more awareness about this ESG part in the organization, in the people on day to day basis, I think, which is very important. Otherwise ESG from my personal reflection, I find remains into the boardroom discussions a lot. It is left upon the senior leaders to deal with it, but I think the real success of it would be when every member of the organization understand what is ESG and what is their limited role, be it very very small, 2 minute role into that, but put together that will drive the ESG strategy for the company. So I take a pause. I pass it on to Nitin sir.
No, I agree. So, a lot has been talked about ESG, and the steps which are taken in that direction are still wanting. Zydus has been doing its bit in terms of ESG, for example, in terms of environment part with a manufacturing practices, how sustainable are the manufacturing practices in terms of energy efficiency, the type of power you use. For example, we have gone with renewable power, in terms of hybrid, both solar and wind, which takes care of a significant part of our power consumption. We also have our norms in terms of carbon neutral, water neutral, etc. Waste reduction norms, green efficiency, how sustainable is the packaging onwards, and sustainable procurement strategies from ethical buying, registered buyers, suppliers only you buy, etc. Those things are important. Employee-related safety measures. No wonder Zydus is amongst the great places to work, for a number of years. So it speaks high in terms of the practices that we have, and the social part also. For example, Zydus is, having a Dahod Medical College and Hospital in Dahod, which is a very backward district of Gujarat, and where we have put up a hospital where all the facilities are given free of cost, completely free, including the surgery. Okay, so these are significant contribution in terms of our reaching out for the societal requirements. And governance comes again by philosophy, how your boards are constituted, who are your auditors, and what are your practices, how open you are in terms of discussions, and obviously listed company has certainly more disclosure and transparency, even required by law compared to closed deal companies. So Deloitte is, for example, our statutory auditor, EY and PwC, our internal auditors. So these things obviously give better confidence levels, to public at large. So number of things are being done and are yet to be done.
Right, sir. Thank you for answering all our questions. So, looking at the time, we would have to now move to the concluding part of our session. Speakers, CA Rahul Kedia ji and CA Nitin Parekh ji. Both of them have been award winners various times, have been experienced and learned in their fields of the pharma world. We are glad for the knowledge shared from both of you, sir. To summarize, we touched upon the role of finance in the world of pharma. We talked about diseases, sciences, and the related finance side of the pharma world. We also discussed the sector as a whole and the opportunities and challenge faced by us, faced by the pharma world. Thanks to the CMIB committee, its team members for organizing this initiative. I also thanks the audience for being here today. I am C. Manisha Luthra, currently working in the valuations and modeling aspect of the financial advisory or the strategic risk and transaction side. It was my honor to moderate the webinar with our esteemed guests and the audience today. On behalf of CMIB committee, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to listen. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.